Now, let's know more about architectural layout of the outer court. There are 6 gates along the majestic ceremonial avenue: Tiananmen Gate, the Meridian Gate, and the Duanmen Gate, which is between the 2 gates. And the Meridian Gate is the main entrance to the Forbidden City from the south. The Meridian Gate has 5 gateways. The central gateway is part of the majestic ceremonial avenue. Only the emperor may walk or ride on the majestic ceremonial avenue, except for the empress on the occasion of her wedding and successful students of the imperial examinations. There are 3 ceremonial halls along majestic ceremonial avenue as well: the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the Hall of Middle Harmony, and the Hall of Preserving Harmony, that is, 太和殿, 中和殿, and 保和殿. As the most important ceremonial center of imperial power, the Hall of Supreme Harmony symbolized the majesty of the emperor. Set into the ceiling at the center of the hall is an intricate caisson decorated with a coiled dragon, from the mouth of which issues a chandelier-like set of metal balls called the Xuanyuan mirror. It functioned as site for the enthronement of the new emperor and his imperial wedding. It was also the site for the emperor to dispatch generals to war, to announce the result of imperial examinations, and entitle the emperor's dowager, empress, and crown prince. The Hall of Middle Harmony was used by the emperor to prepare and rest before and after the state ceremonies. The Hall of Preserving Harmony was where the emperor to give banquet to his officials, the minority groups' leaders, and religious leaders. From 1719 in Qing dynasty, the court examination, the final stage of the imperial examination, was held there. The largest imperial audience took place not inside the Hall of Supreme Harmony, but in the vast courtyard outside it. Thousands of officials would gather there to hear imperial proclamations. The 3 halls, as ceremonial halls, constitute the most important part of the outcourt as the building complex. They are the center of the official court of the Forbidden City. Interestingly, the outer court, led by the 3 ceremonial halls, and the inner court, led by the 3 rear palaces, follows a traditional ritual. The ritual of the official court in the front and the residential court in the rear, as recorded in the Rites of Zhou. The 3 ceremonial halls, the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the Hall of Middle Harmony, and the Hall of Preserving Harmony in the outer court, had their counterpart in the inner court. Their counterpart in the inner court is the Palace of Heavenly Purity, the Hall of Union, and the Palace for Earthly Tranquility. They mirror each other in the south and in the north of the Forbidden City, so they form a central axis of the Forbidden City. The 3 ceremonial halls, the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the Hall of Middle Harmony, and the Hall of Preserving Harmony in the outer court, together with the Palace of Heavenly Purity, the Hall of Union, and the Palace of Earthly Tranquility in the inner court, were constructed on the central axis. Other palaces are in parallel with the central axis. The majestic ceremonial avenue form the central axis of the Forbidden City, one part of the central axis of Beijing. This central axis has been listed on the UNESCO World Heritage. The concept of central axis in the city planning has represented the idea of the union of a human being and nature in the Book of Changes. The central axis extends southward from the 3 halls to the 3 gates. There is the imperial ancestral temple on the left and the altar of land and grain on the right along the central axis. The architectural layout of the Forbidden City observes the ritual of the ancestral shrines on the left and altar of gods of land and grain on the right. 左, 祖, 右, 社. This ritual is recorded in the Rites of Zhou, records of construction. In the Ming and Qing dynasties, sacrificial ceremonies were held on the most important festival occasions in honor of imperial families' ancestors in the imperial ancestral temple on the left of the central axis. On its right is the altar of earth and harvest, which was used to perform the national soil and grain ceremonies. The god of land is known as She in Chinese, and the god of grain is known as Ji in Chinese. Both land and grain are the very foundation of traditional Chinese architectural society. As China has been an agricultural country for thousands of years, from the 9th year of Yongle's reign of the Ming dynasty, that is, in 1421, to the 3rd year of Xuantong's reign of the Qing dynasty, that is, 1911, 1,300 worship rites were constructed in the altar of land and grain. That's all for the architectural layout of the Forbidden City. It involves 5 directions: front, rear, left, right, and center. Front and rear means the ritual of the official court in the front and the residential court in the rear, in the Rites of Zhou. Left and right represent the ritual of the ancestral shrines on the left and the altar of gods of land and grain on the right in the Rites of Zhou, records of construction. Center refer to the central axis of the city of Beijing, where the central axis of the Forbidden City is one part of it. Listed in the UNESCO World Heritage, the central axis functions with main buildings in parallel with it to achieve symmetry of the Forbidden City. With these 5 directions, the architectural layout of the Forbidden City follows the traditional ritual in Chinese culture, from the Rites of Zhou to the Book of Changes. Traditional Chinese culture inspires the architectural layout of the Forbidden City. Just as 3 and 6 can digitize the inner court, the figures can also summarize the outer court. Let's understand the architectural layout of a Forbidden City by figures. 1, 2, 3, 6. 1 means one city, the Forbidden City. 2 refer to 2 courts, the inner court and the outer court. 3 designates the 3 gates, the 3 halls of the outer court, and the 3 rear palaces of the inner court. Eventually, 6 signifies the 6 eastern palaces and the 6 western palaces. Obviously, there are 15 palaces in the inner court, and they were viewed as the earthly counterpart of the Ziwei enclosure surrounding the North Star. The North Star is called the Ziwei Star. In the heaven, the area of 15 stars led by the North Star is called the Ziwei enclosure, and it is a border of celestial emperor and his family. The earthly projection of the Ziwei enclosure is the Forbidden City, the abode of terrestrial emperor. The earthly projection of the 15 stars in the Ziwei enclosure is the 3 rear palaces, 6 eastern palaces, and 6 western palaces. The 15 buildings are the main part of the inner court. The inner court and the outer court form the Forbidden City. Along the majestic ceremonial avenue, there are 3 gates and 3 halls of the outer court. This is the architectural layout of the Forbidden City that follows the ritual of traditional Chinese culture. Thank you for your attention.